The member for Oshawa.
Thank you, Speaker, and thank you to the member for the opportunity to speak to this motion, which states that in the opinion of this House, the Government of Ontario should stop any new tolls on existing lanes of Ontario highways, including the Gardiner Expressway and Don Valley Parkway. Speaker, this is an issue that is extremely important to my community in Oshawa, so I appreciate the opportunity to rise on their behalf today. Across Ontario, we have had and continue to have concerns about affordability in this province. People are struggling to make ends meet, to pay their rising hydro bills, and to put food on the table. In the Durham Region, about 30% of all workers commute into Toronto each and every day. Not only does this put a strain on their schedules, as the average travel time to get to work is about 65 minutes, but it puts a strain on their budgets too. For the drivers, between gas, upkeep, and wear and tear on their vehicles, the costs keep growing. And Speaker, when you are commuting for over 2 hours a day in Ontario, snow tires become a necessity and a cost for your safety. But this is the reality for thousands of people in my riding and tens, if not hundreds of thousands across the Durham region. And Speaker, these are people that have been forced to leave our community to find work because the jobs just aren't there. That is the reality under this Liberal government, and it is this reality that is facing Ontarians across the province. Now we are discussing whether people in my community can afford to pay more. We are discussing whether the families that are fighting to pay their hydro bills every month just to keep the lights on at home can afford to spend more to get to their jobs in the first place. Speaker, we're debating the wrong thing. This shouldn't be just about how much more the poor or working people in our communities are going to have to pay to take the bus or drive on roads. We should be focusing on what this government is prepared to do to make transit options more accessible to all Ontarians. Right now, the City of Toronto is desperately looking for ways to pay for transit because the province has left them high and dry. Historically, the province used to match the city dollar for dollar on what it invested in transit, but that isn't happening under this government. If it were happening, it would put more money into transit than what road tolls are projected to do. So let me just say that again. If the province simply matched the city's transit spending like it used to, we would see $279 million invested into transit instead of the $200 million that will come from road tolls on the backs of commuters from my community. Speaker, the reason that municipalities are under pressure is because this government has abandoned them. For the past 2 decades, the Conservative and Liberal governments have cut taxes for wealthy people and corporations and have increased taxes for everybody else. Instead of investing in Ontario, this government has shifted the burden onto us, and my community is feeling the impact. This is yet another example of the deception this government has attempted against the people of Ontario. They've told us that they are progressive, that they care about people, but again and again they have put private interests above the public. Again, they have made bad choices and left us holding the bills. Again, their problems are ours and not the other way around. Ontarians across the province are worried about how they will pay their bills, how they'll put food on the table and keep a roof over their heads. They're worried about getting their kids to school and getting themselves to work. Oh.
I would caution the member on her language. We obviously want to ensure that the language is fully parliamentary, and would ask the member to continue.
Thank you, Speaker. But the government doesn't seem worried because they're not worrying about any of this. For them, it is out of sight and out of mind. Their concerns are not our concerns. They are focused on one thing and one thing only, and that is themselves. This chamber is where we're meant to debate matters of public interest, but this government seems to care less and less about the public every day. It's why our hydro bills have gone up, why our hospital budgets are being cut, and why they don't mind shifting the burden of building transit onto us. I hear from constituents every day that they are struggling, but this government continues to act like that message hasn't reached them. It is astounding that they continue to behave this way, and Ontarians are fed up. Period. It's time for this government to put the interests of Ontarians first. On behalf of my constituents in Oshawa and across the Durham region, I call on this government to stop downloading costs onto municipalities and onto Ontarians and start investing in our communities instead.
Wouldn't that be good?
Transit and mobility are a shared public interest that benefits us all, and I demand, on behalf of my community, that the government starts adequately funding regional transportation for the good of all of our communities. Thank you, Speaker.